folks, we can't put it off any longer. We need to do one of these slow, bizarre preludes masquerading as a dance. As so. This is the C sharp minor prelude, and welcome to Amateur Hour. My goal basically is going to be to make you enjoy this piece because it's weird, it's very bizarre, and it's very slow. We're not used to dancing to such slow pieces. So, first things first, I keep mentioning this is a dance, but I want to put that aside for a second. I don't think it matters all that much that this is actually based on a dance form. So all of the preludes, and in fact, pretty much all of Bach's music really has a pulse, a groove. It's very danceable. We already saw some examples. I mean, I love this one, the E major one. The F sharp major has kind of a similar beat. Even the minor ones, what about this rhythm? That's the A minor one. So dance, pulse, groove permeates all of Bach's pieces, and certainly these preludes. I should point out, in a way that is not always the case with especially the romantic repertoire, but I think in the classical repertoire as well. Take this example. There's a really wonderful version of Nessun Dorma by it's directed by, do I have it written here, Antonio Pappano. I'll link it to YouTube, and you should feel the way the pulse just gets elongated. It's something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Do you feel how that 3 and that 4 were so much longer than that 1 and the 2, which makes it very difficult to dance to? Bach, by contrast, there's something wonderful about him. McKee, who is a researcher in classical music, I think mostly Baroque, said that just because, she was talking about the suites, the dance suites by Bach, but she said just because a piece was not written specifically for dancing does not mean it's not danceable. It doesn't mean it's incorrect to try to dance to it. And that is certainly the case, not just to the suites, but to all of Bach's music, and especially these preludes. So let's treat this piece just like we did all the other pieces so far. Forget that it's a dance, we'll get back to that in a second, and analyze its groove. What does it do? Okay, right at the beginning, we can see what the groove is like. Let me replay that again for you. So first of all, just really briefly, this pattern at the beginning, this pom, 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 permeates the whole piece. It's absolutely everywhere. But that's not as important as these other two elements that I'm going to mention. So at the beginning, the groove, the part of the groove that's very important is that little skip we saw at the end. Let me count this. So if you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. Do you feel how we had like a little skip there? At the beginning, it's very straight. It's 1, 2, 3. But then once we get to that 4 and then 5 and the 6, we have a skip. something happens in between the 5 and the 6. It's pretty syncopated. It's like 1, 2, 3. Yeah? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and skip. Hear it again. 2, 3, 4, 5, and skip. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and skip. That skip is actually called a sautillon figure. It's a French word. I think it refers to more about the dance step than but it's the dance step and the rhythm itself. We see it in other dances as well, like the jig. This is from the C minor suite. Forgetting the notes. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. You feel that skip? Bum, ba, ba, bum, ba, ba, bum. Now in the jigs, that's pretty fast, but in this piece, it's much, much slower. But it's by far the most important part of the groove, and it also permeates the piece. Almost everywhere, with a few exceptions we'll get to in a second, this pattern is there. It's just everywhere. 1, 2, 3. Bum, 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 bum. Yeah? So one of the things that helps really enjoy the piece more is to try to dance along with it and to cue in to that skip, to that sautillon figure, because it is actually pretty fun to dance to. Anything syncopated is great, and this is a pretty good example of very old school syncopation. So besides this little skip, this sautillon figure, which is very characteristic of this dance piece, which we'll see in a second, the other rhythm is, it happens when Bach plays a little more, where it's not as weird, when the harmony becomes a little nicer. So here. So let's analyze that for a second. It's still syncopated, but at a different metrical level, if you want to get really fancy with it. So I counted this piece in 6. Let me play this part. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But you can also feel the piece, and it's actually, historically, would be correct to also dance it in 2. So have 2 beats. So instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, think of the first group of 3 as 1 beat and the next group of 3 as another beat. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Sorry about that. When you feel it like this, when you feel it in groups of 2 instead of pulses of 6, you can see this little syncopation as well. There's a little pause, a little jump, a little jilt right before the 2. Let me move my body so you can feel it a little bit more. You feel that before the 2, 1 and 2. So it's not actually syncopated if you count in 6, because everything does happen on the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4, the 5, the 6. Everything important really makes you feel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So on that metrical level, it lacks syncopation. But if you feel it in 2, there's that little pause that makes you feel like it's a little syncopated, a little jilted right before the 2. So These are the two important rhythmic elements that really give this whole piece its groove. And my one tip for enjoying this piece, for really trying to dance to it, to love it, is to lock in to those grooves and move your body. Feel the actual dance of this. Again, you can dance to all of these preludes. There's nothing all that special about this one. But the same thing that you could say about all the other preludes, you could also say about this. Feel that groove, feel that pulse, and I think it'll be easier to, let's say, overlook all the weird harmonies and just strange things that happen in this piece. So, let's go back to the fact that it's a dance. Let's talk about that just for a second. Okay, so this is a Loure. That's the name of the dance. I actually thought it was a Courant, but Meredith Little and Natalie Jenne, which I've mentioned before, wonderful, wonderful book about Bach's dance music, pointed out quite much more correctly that it is a Loure. So what do we know about the Loure? It's actually one of the few Baroque dances whose history we know quite well. Pretty much all of them became kind of inextricably linked and assimilated to the French aristocracy and French dancing. Think of it as a kind of proto-ballet. But we actually know the history of the Loure. All the other dances have origins which have become fairly untraceable, like the jig. Kind of, is presumably an English thing. You can, I don't know, I'm not a historian, but if I think of, I don't know, like people in Great Britain doing old-timey jigs, you can kind of feel that skipping quality, right? The sarabande, which is very, very slow, probably has some colonialist history from Spanish colonies. But the Loure, we actually know. It's very clear. It showed up in the French opera I think about the time of Bach, maybe in 1700. But that's pretty much its origins. It's in French opera, so it was born of the French aristocracy that assimilated all the other dances. We know that it's generally slow, just like in this piece. And we know that it has that sautillon figure. That's really the crucial element to that Loure, is that boom and jump. Boom, 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 boom. That sautillon is the most important part of the Loure. So how does this even help us? It's something I started asking myself as I was writing a script for this piece. I'm not sure it helps us all that much to know this history. Maybe it does a bit. I'm tempted to say that, that the idiom or adage that you should know the rules first before you can break them, which is definitely true. I do believe in that. And maybe that applies here. If you know that it was a slow piece, it was part of French aristocratic opera. I mean, you're familiar with French aristocratic opera, right? If you know these rules, you might be a little more capable, informed at breaking them. So maybe that is one thing one reason why it helps to know this history of this piece. But I want to stress that you can still analyze it the way we just did, as just any other prelude, not knowing it's a dance, and as long as you cue into these very obvious rhythmic elements that we discussed, you can love the piece, you can play it well without even knowing that it's a Loure and all the history that comes with the Loure. So that's the piece, really wonderful. If you're a pianist, let's talk about, stick around and we can talk about how to practice this. It's not that hard to practice. And how to learn it. Very hard to learn it. Weird stuff. Again, what is this? This is nothing. Okay, how to practice this piece. I'm once again tempted to say that this is quite an easy piece. And it is. There's really one element that's a little hard. Technique-wise, as long as you can shape a melody, you're good. I don't want to say that shaping a melody is easy. It takes a lot of work, a lot of practice, a lot of time to get your tone right and all that stuff. And if you're not there yet, you probably should not be studying this piece. But assuming you can shape a melody, the only difficult thing in this piece is occasionally you have to deal with two rhythms at the same time, one in each hand, which is obviously very hard. So how do you do that? How can you play two very distinct rhythms, very distinct lines in separate hands with difficulty? It is very, very hard. But let me give you two tips, and they're kind of related. So the first one has to do with muscle memory. Actually, let me show you the part that I'm talking about. It's it was in the right hand. Here we go. Okay, so the right hand has this 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, and 6. It's got that sautillon figure, while the left hand does this. It's got that pattern that permeates this whole piece. So the first step to do this is to have played both of the hands separately enough times that has become part of your muscle memory. Okay, I have done this so many times, not just these specific notes, but I mean, I know what we're in, what key we're in. I've done these so many times. I've walked through these notes in this key so many times, and I've played this particular part of this piece so many times that I mean, I can do something else while I play it, right? But let's take a brief second to talk about muscle memory. Muscle memory is a double-edged sword. It is, I think it is the most important tool for the craftsmanship part of music playing. I think it is the most important tool at your disposal. In fact, I think it's crucial. I don't think you can get by without it. However, it's such a potentially dangerous tool because it's all too easy to end up on autopilot. And muscle memory should never, 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 never be used so that you can go on autopilot. When I'm playing the beginning here, I'm not on autopilot. I have this under my muscles memory, but I am acutely aware of absolutely everything that I'm doing. I'm aware that I have this rhythm, this bum, 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 up, down. I'm aware of that rhythm. I know I'm in the key of C sharp. I mean, I've played so many C sharp scales. I know the notes, that's part of the muscle memory. But I am aware, I'm starting on the G sharp, I'm moving down. I've got this little trick over here, and then I move up. So I'm constantly aware of what I'm doing, even as the muscle memory is helping me do it. So here, I've got the muscle memory down, but I am aware of what I'm doing. I'm aware in both hands of what I'm doing, that in my left hand, I've got this little pattern, bum, 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 bum. While in the right hand, I've got my sautillon figure. So I keep talking about concentration. You have to have the muscle memory, but you also have to be acutely aware and very concentrated on what you're doing, to be consciously aware of what's happening. And that's basically the trick to doing two separate rhythms in your hands. I don't think it's actually humanly, okay, I'm not a psychologist or a neuroscientist. Yeah, neuroscientist. But I do not know if it's possible, if it's humanly possible to literally do two things at the same time. I think we're very good at context switching, of like switching between, okay, now I'm 1 millisecond I'm in the left hand, 1 millisecond I'm in the right hand, and I'm constantly switching back and forth. But true multitasking, I'm not sure is within the realm of the human brain. But with a lot of concentration and being acutely aware of what I'm doing with each hand, combined with that muscle memory, that bedrock that is the muscle memory, I can simulate simulate this multitask of doing two things at the same time. And you'll have to apply this in a couple of places throughout this piece. Generally, you only have one rhythm at a time. The hands are pretty separate, but there are a couple of times when you have to keep track of two separate rhythms in the two different hands. So that's kind of it. Not a very difficult piece. Just lock into that rhythm, love that rhythm, be aware of the groove of those two different syncopations that we talked about, and the piece will just flow like butter. So now let's talk about, unfortunately, how to learn it, because it is very difficult to learn. Okay, why is it so hard to learn? So first, one of the reasons it's hard to learn is because we're in a key with a fair amount of sharps, and it's a minor key. So just really briefly, a bit of harmonic analysis. Consider we're in the key of C sharp, right? The beginning, C sharp. Very obvious. Well, what is the dominant of C sharp? What is the chord built on the fifth note of the scale that makes us want to move back to C sharp? It's this, well, the fifth note of the scale is G sharp, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's my G sharp. Normally, it would be a G sharp minor, but because we're in a minor key, we really want this dominant to be major so that we have this B sharp that can move up by a half step to our root note, our C sharp. So that's why you will always see in these minor keys, the dominant will be major instead of minor, so that you can have this nice resolution. And we're already in a bit of a funk because, first of all, this is not C, this is B sharp, and you'll notice it over here. There's the B sharp, there's B sharp. And this G sharp major chord looks exactly like an A flat major. But it's not, it's a G sharp major. And this is the easy part of it. This actually modulates into G sharp minor pretty quickly. And if we follow the same reasoning we just did on G sharp minor, it's even worse. So G sharp minor has yet another sharp. We're now dealing with 5 sharps. And the dominant of G sharp minor is this. It looks like an E flat, but it's not. It's a D sharp. And not only is it D sharp, but this note over here, so that we can get a major chord, this is not a G, this is an F double sharp. And sure enough, we can see an F double sharp over here. And when we want to modulate to G sharp minor. And not just that, but you have to keep track of, I think what's called the melodic minor. So you got your normal minor scale. Yeah, the minor scale doesn't exist. It's just a way of looking at the major scale, but you're just shifting a little bit. You're starting on a different note. The major scale, the diatonic scale, is the truth for classical music. Oh, I'm gonna get eaten alive for that comment, but I do believe it. However, the melodic minor is like that. For complicated historical reasons, in classical music, you will often see these the 6th and the 7th note of the minor scale raised. So instead of E, F sharp, G sharp, you would see E sharp, F double sharp, G sharp. So it's such a pain to keep track of all these these double sharps, these melodic minors, these dominant chords that have an E sharp or a B sharp in them. It just gets tiring. So that's one reason why this is difficult. The other reason is because just harmonically it goes through the weirdest things that just do not make that much sense to me. And I think to most people either. I played this piece for my mom, and she does not like it all that much. I haven't gotten her to love this piece yet. Maybe this video will. And she said that the main thing that she enjoyed from the first listen of this, was trying to guess where the piece was going to go, what was going to be the next chord, the next thing, and always being wrong, because it's always going to throw out something bizarre at you. I think if you were to, again, lock into the rhythm, try to dance it, feel that little skip, bum, 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 you might enjoy the piece more. But harmonically, it is true that it just goes in the weirdest places. So, all that being said, I do not have very good tips for how to memorize this piece. We're going to go through it not measure by measure, but like piece by piece. And I'll just give you little tips, if I have any, for every little part of the prelude. But I don't know how much it's gonna help. I still forget note. I think the reason I've memorized this piece is more because of muscle memory than not muscle memory, more because I've just done it so many times. It's been burned into my brain. But there are a couple of things that I use to try to be a little bit grounded and try to figure out what the next thing is going to be. So let's do it. Let's go piece by piece, okay? Okay, this the beginning. These first four measures are very simple. We're in the key of C sharp minor. This is just C sharp minor. This is an F sharp minor, but kind of it's not that important. And then in the second measure, again, C sharp minor, F sharp minor, and then we go here. Okay, so the first two measures, just think you're in C sharp minor, and then a very quick F sharp minor before the next measure. Okay, then we go into the dominant. This is our G sharp major. So the beginning is easy, just C sharp minor, dominant, G sharp major. Very easy. The next three measures, it is one of those places where you do have chords. I mean, you can work out the chords. If you ignore the melody, you've got like an A major 7, followed by a B7, G sharp minor, C sharp, F sharp minor, B, E. In fact, right at the end there, that's a 2, 2, 5. Oh my God, my voice. 2, 5, 1. I tried to sing that. I should not be trying to sing stuff. But I don't find that the chords help all that much for me to memorize it, except at the end where I know that I'm doing a 2, 5, 1 in the key of E. What helps is a pattern, and it's a pretty obvious pattern if you take a look at it. So again, we're ignoring the melody. What the right hand does, it plays an A, plays it again. In the next measure, it goes down, and then goes down. So very simple. We're starting on an A, and we're just moving down. The left hand also just moves down. So we're starting on this chord, and then on the second beat, we move down. We hold it on the next beat, and then on the next beat, we move down, hold it on the next beat, and on the last beat, we move down again. So it's just a pattern. See, I repeated the A while I moved down with the left hand. Then I moved down in the right hand while I kept the left hand constant. I repeat the G sharp in the right hand while I move down in the left hand. You see, I moved down in the right hand to this F sharp, and I held down in the left hand. Repeated the F sharp while I moved down in the left hand. So that's the trick, the little pattern that helps you memorize this. Now, in the next couple of measures, it's a little funkier. This is where we're going to modulate to G sharp. But first of all, we're just in E, so that first measure is in E. And then we immediately move to the G sharp major chord, which sounds very weird. Well, not that weird. This is in Paul Simon's Kodachrome as well. Kodachrome, do, my I got an eye. But yeah, so we're on E. G sharp. And then in the next measure, we are in C sharp minor, right? Because this G sharp major chord is the dominant of C sharp minor. So generally in this piece, when you see a G sharp, a B sharp, when you see this kind of G sharp looking thing, the next chord is probably going to be a C sharp minor. It's pretty weird because, I mean, the C sharp is in the bass, so we've resolved to C sharp, but we're still holding on to this weird B sharp note and playing an A in the melody. So yeah, this is C sharp, right? It's not C sharp. But that is kind of the idea. Here we've landed on C sharp much more clearly. Okay, in the next measure, this is where you should be thinking we've already modulated to G sharp minor, and we're on the dominant. So we are doing this D sharp 7th chord. While the right hand, actually both hands are playing in the G sharp minor melodic scale. So all of these notes, all of these weird things, you've got your A with a sharp symbol, you've got E with a sharp, you've got F with a double sharp, all that stuff, all it goes to say is that we are in the D sharp major chord, which is the dominant of G sharp. And here we've landed much more clearly on D sharp. You can see this is just a D sharp chord. It sounds weird because the bass has the 7th in it. It's got the C sharp. Again, weird, very weird. But it's pretty clear we're still on the dominant of G sharp minor. And here this is a very standard resolution, G sharp, D sharp major, to G sharp minor. Okay, that was just the beginning. That was like the first third. Let's pick up the pace, because I think now you can start to get a feel for how we're going to do this, and probably do this yourself as well. But I'll give you a couple of hints places where it was a little difficult for me. Okay, so we've landed on G sharp. Here we're going to do a 2-5-1 in the key of B. So we've got a C sharp 6. If you just look at all these notes, put them together, you'll see that it's just a C sharp 6. And now we're on F sharp. Right? That's just an F sharp. F sharp is the dominant of B. So we've got 2-5-1 in the key of B. And now we've landed on B. Very clearly a B. And now we're going to do something in some diminished 7th chord. Yeah, we're again on a G sharp, which is, again, we're doing this G sharp chord. Once again, we have an A in the melody, which indicates this diminished 7th chord, which is the equivalent of G sharp. Look back to my first episode on the C major Bach Prelude, where we discussed these diminished 7th chords. But yeah, we're basically on the chord that wants to resolve to C sharp. Next couple of measures. This is once again we're gonna do we're in this diminished 7th chord, which acts like C sharp major because we want to resolve to F sharp minor. Again, pretty basic. We want to resolve to F sharp minor. What's the dominant? What's the 5th? C sharp major. But Bach starts with a diminished 7th. So instead of starting with a true C sharp chord, he's got this diminished 7th chord. Right? Look at that. That's that diminished 7th. F sharp minor. So here, the next three measures, you can follow the chords, kind of. I mean, this is kind of like G sharp minor, which moves to an E. We're now on C sharp. This is a D sharp diminished. And then G sharp major. As I've said so many times, whenever you see a G sharp major chord, you know we're going to resolve to C sharp minor. Somehow after the C sharp, we go to an F sharp minor. I don't know why. And then in the next section, this is where the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5 measures, I really don't know what to tell you. You can find some chords. I mean, this is clearly a D major, do, 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 do. And then he goes to this diminished chord, stays on it. This is some kind of, I guess it's an E major 7. You can follow this pattern and see some chords in there, but I don't know how much they help you because it just feels so random. The only thing that I notice and I can cue into is that the end has a very clear, this is just we're going down in a G sharp. Again, when you see G sharp major, think C sharp minor. But unfortunately, this is the case where we do not resolve to C sharp minor. Yeah, did I mention it's weird? So, good luck with this section. In the next two measures, this is actually one of the easier parts. Notice something. We're gonna do something with this diminished seventh, and notice how every beat we start on a note from one of these from this chord. So in the left hand, okay, bum ba bum bum. Right? Let me hold this down. Okay. The right hand is pretty similar. It's going to follow this pattern, this bum 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 bum. It's going to do that pattern, and we're always starting on these notes from this diminished seventh. Do 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 do. Bum 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 bum. That kind of helps lock this in a bit. The next three measures we're going to try to resolve finally to a weird kind of C sharp. And we do it with this very strange rhythm. The thing that helped me here was notice in the left hand, after the first two eighth notes, you can group the eighth notes in groups of 4, and notice how it follows a pattern. Bum 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 bum. And then we're just moving up in a scale. This is the C sharp melodic minor scale. But it really helps to know that you have this pattern of 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Right? Do you see that pattern? Bum 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 bum. The right hand is kind of harder to find a pattern in it. But the way it's written kind of wants you to see groups of 4. So 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So maybe if you follow that pattern, if you group the right hand in groups of 4, that helps as well a bit. And then we have a pretty standard resolution in C sharp, as I said. C sharp, this is the dominant. But instead of resolving to C sharp here, he hits us with this. I mean, this is a diminished chord. Right? It's this diminished chord over here. uh, good luck memorizing these notes. I had a lot of trouble with it, but I do know we're in this diminished seventh chord. And it's actually the diminished seventh chord that acts like a D sharp dominant, a D sharp 7. Because sure enough, over here, we've landed on D sharp. This is pretty clearly one of the few times it's very clear that we're on a D sharp chord. And think of this D sharp as the fifth of G sharp, which is the fifth of C sharp. So it's like a 5 of 5 situation. That was all D sharp. This is a G sharp 7, which resolves to C sharp. And then this is standard stuff. We're now in G sharp, which resolves to C sharp. Whew. Okay, did that help? I hope that helped. I hope it helped. It took a while to get to the point where I can pretty much reliably play this without mistakes. I hope I'm not jinxing myself now. Try to find some patterns. Be aware of the key you're in. See this G sharp, which resolves to C sharp sort of thing. Get used to a lot of diminished seventh chords, and you can get a grasp on this piece. But most important of all, to recapitulate, groove, groove, groove. Feel that bounce, that pom, 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 and the piece will come out well. Okay, how are we doing? Somehow that was still 44 minutes. I think the majority of that was me walking through the piece. I apologize, I tried to keep this shorter. Let's actually play the piece now, which I do love. I ragged on it a lot. I do actually like this piece. I think it's quite gorgeous in its own weird little way. So, thank you for watching. Let's play it. Thanks for watching.